music for Egypt. Nile FM.
Hello, I'm here with the incredible Wafa, head of FIG for Sub-Saharan Africa at JB Morgan Chase. How are you?
Hi, Kenzy. How are you?
I'm good. Pleasure to have you today.
Thank you so much. The pleasure is mine.
We're here at the third edition of CEO Women Conference, and I think it's incredible that it's been the third year that we can still be here, hearing from all of these incredible women, men, people that are very influential. And with that being said, I just want to ask you, what is, or how do you define empowering women?
Well, thank you so much. First of all, it's amazing to be here and to see all these fascinating people talking and presenting through the panels, the discussions, the networking. It's fantastic. Mm-hmm. The best thing, and you asked what's how can we empower women, or how can we define empowering women? Number one is the number of male figures that were in the room. It was fantastic. Very encouraging. The speech and the open discussions that they had was very empowering. I think there have been some themes that were discussed through the panel so far, and this is ideal for us because we have men on the panels who were talking, sharing experience, sharing expectations, sharing pain points, and it's good because it's amazing to have women in the room talking to other women in the room. Great, but we need the men. Mm-hmm. So men as allies is a very important thing in order to empower women. So there are lots of programs that are there, like mentorship, sponsorship. Those are very important for empowering women. But I think the main idea and what I found really very inspiring today, when I heard one of the CEOs and chairmen speaking about great to have numbers, great to have quotas and stats, but how can we facilitate the work life for women? We all talk about work-life balance, but what are we doing to do that? It's like amazing. We keep encouraging women to have a work-life balance, but what are the companies doing in order to encourage and empower women in order to have this work-life balance? So I believe the empowerment is definitely a big. It has a big scope, but one of the main things is actually getting things into action rather than putting policies and procedures and without applying them.
I love that you mentioned work-life balance because that is on my sheet to ask, because I think specifically with women, and I know this is such a typical question to ask, but I think we still haven't arrived at the proper answer, where women are always the ones asked, how do you do it all? Can a woman do it all? Because there's always a work-life balance. Whereas if a man, and I'm sorry I'm going there, but if a man is always at work, it's okay. But I still feel like there's this gender division with specifically work-life balance?
Well, very good question and very valid, especially within our culture. I'll surprise you. I managed to do this through my husband. So actually,
it's such an incredible answer, honestly, because I think. Continue. I don't want to interrupt you.
It's fine.
Amazing.
But to be very honest, if it wasn't for his support and believing in my role and importance that I bring to the family overall, I wouldn't have been having this conversation with you right now.
Yeah.
And there have been milestones within my career where I had like a kind of a thinking that I will just like step down, or maybe I will not take this opportunity or go for it. And he was surprisingly pushing me to do it. I was like, that's quite interesting. This is definitely from my husband and also the family. Don't be shy to ask for support. Everyone is there. It's like if you mentioned the man now figure as an example of why men are there and they're not being asked about work-life balance. Guess what? Because they're getting support from their wives, from their friends, from their moms, from everyone around them. There is an automatic support system for the male that is not being questioned. But when you see it as a woman, how are you doing it? Because relatively speaking, we're not very out there in the work life, in some of the jobs that we do. For example, I work for Sub-Saharan Africa, and if you know what that means that I'm traveling to very interesting countries like Nigeria, Zimbabwe, etc. Not always the nice touristic destinations, but if it wasn't for everyone who supported me, from my mom, my sister, my friends, and also I shouldn't also undermine the fact that I have helpers at home that are doing an amazing job, and she's a woman who's helping me. She's leaving people behind to also support another family and to provide them, and she's coming to help us in our house in order to help me to flourish. So it's a sequence of events, a domino effect, if I would say.
It does. Agreed completely. And I love that you mentioned that, because I think that's something that we kind of brush over, thinking that it's just, you're here, you showed up, we don't know what you had to do to be here, but women show up, men show up. So I think that is such a big topic that I think we're still moving towards. And I love your answer that with men, with women, it takes a village.
Absolutely.
And it's a balance all around.
Absolutely.
Speaking of cultural diversity, you've been to a lot of different cultures. Do you see, or how can you compare the strides that have been taken internationally with women in the workplace or women in leadership positions?
Well, it's also a bigger scope because we can't take like I'll say blanket answer for everything. It depends. It differs from the composition from the company itself. Today, it was a very good example where we saw chairmen. They were all males, but they were giving stats and numbers about the progress that they have done, the programs that they are doing to empower women. So in Egypt, I was particularly fascinated by the progress that we're making. We're definitely making amazing progress. And if you look at the multinationals, I believe that they're more mature in terms of how they are tackling the diversity and inclusion agenda in general, and definitely specifically the women agenda. I believe we are doing really well. Is it the answer that we're doing fantastic now? No, there's definitely better to be done. Are we there? Are we on the right track? Absolutely we are, because now you can see more women in the leadership positions, more women in public speaking, even running for the US presidency. We can now see a female figure, and with a very high probability that she might actually make it.
Yeah.
So I think we are not really way behind everyone else, maybe because we don't see the outside. But if you hear today, when the networking events, we were talking about other people who are coming from Canada, for example, they say, oh, same problems, same issues, same topics. So it seems that there is a kind of a theme everywhere. And I don't want to undermine the fact that we have done really, really well in Egypt based on the stats that were mentioned today. Not to mention that the majority were multinational companies, but I hope to hear more from the local companies. And I believe if you look also at the political arena, you can see also Egypt is doing really, really well in terms of how we have strong female figures that are being there.
I really think there's some kind of applause to be given to the younger generations, because you're seeing all of these local brands arise and younger men and women starting up their own startup businesses, which is something that I didn't see growing up. So I think there is a huge generational progress in that sense. And women starting their own businesses at a very young age, I think there's they're more brave, I would say, than maybe my generation was. What advice would you give these women to keep going and to not feel either pressured or kind of demotivated by the industry?
Yeah, true. Very good question. And I think we were talking about this today, about the opportunities, that there is a lot to be done now, but there is also equally destruction. So you can equally get distracted very easily. There's a lot going on, especially when you mentioned that the social media and everything is now at the tip of your finger. You can have access for it. Old school, be consistent, be persistent, be resilient. Don't get demotivated if you fail, because failure is there to make you feel the success when it comes across. So just don't be demotivated. Women are very famous and familiar that they're patient, so please leverage on your merits. We are supposed to be resilient and patient more than others. So I believe we have to go back to our roots and embrace our qualities, that we genuinely have it. We are created with this. We are created differently if you look at the male and female, and there is no right or wrong answer. We simply complete each other. Everyone has his own.
I love that. I love that.
Because this is the reality. Everyone has his own strength, and we just bring to the table the complete picture. So maybe at some point you'll have more empathy, and the other man will have more realistic view, and then sometimes you'll be surprised that you are the one who's risk mitigant. No, you shouldn't be doing this, but they're having a bit of a rush decision. So I think we bring balance together, and not to think about women and men like equally, and having them on the table, whether as an entrepreneur or a leader, or just to have a seat on the table, is really unfortunate, because you're simply wasting 50% of the talent, of the pool talent that you have, from a creativity, from ideas, from productivity, from everything.
Yeah, you can't negate a whole gender just because you want
50% of the population
to fill a quota
globally.
Yeah. It's skill set. I love that. I love your answer. Finally, my last question to you is, you've done an incredible job at where you are today, and I'm sure it wasn't easy, and a lot of people don't see the process. They don't see the behind the scenes, the sweat, the tears, all of it. If you could give one piece of advice from your experience and everything that you've learned until today, what would it be?
Sure, I will give actually. I would say three advices. The first advice is for the women. Once you make it, please be very aware about the queen bee syndrome, which is simply that I reached there and I, as you said, lots of tears and the hard work and stuff like that. Don't make yourself as the only one who's entitled to reach this position. Please give a hand, pay it forward for the other female generations, and try to bring them up the same way that you did. We fully appreciate the hard journey that you've been through, but maybe you can make the next generation journey easier by paving the way to them. Not everyone has to go through the same obstacles.
Yeah, we can help each other out.
Let's help it. Let's avoid some of this. And I'm saying this from a position where I have been helped before. And honestly, the first thing that I think about is paying forward to the next one. The second advice is for men. Without you, we'll not be able to achieve anything. So men as allies are very important. Remember that you might be having a wife, a mom, a daughter, and they're all females. So we represent a big part of your family. So please be a support system for us. And the third one is for basically the companies and the corporations. Please don't hire or promote females just to fill up the quota. Please bring up the good talents, because if you're doing this only to tick a box, you're not doing justice to anyone, because simply we'll be portrayed as she has reached there because she's a female, and we don't want this.
Yeah. Agreed.
That's it.
Thank you so much. I wish I could speak to you all day.
Thank you so much.
But you have a panel.
Thank you,
You
so
have to go.
much. It's so sweet.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Lovely meeting you.
We are still with you here at the CEO Women's Conference, 3rd edition 2024, so stay tuned for our upcoming interviews.